Good morning, everybody. We are back to Big Man Campus, and we are live NFL Week 7 preview podcast, breaking out all the matchups as we head into another week in the National Football League. My name is Jeff. They call me the Big Man Campus. I'm here live, as always, with my partner in crime, my co-host, Ryan D'Amico. Ryan, how you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm doing well.
It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast, and we're getting ready. That music means only one thing. The NFL is back.
Speaking of that music, too, in a world where it seems that
great music,
that they just change things for whatever reason when things don't need change, if Fox ever changes that music,
agreed.
Agreed. I'll boycott watching NFL on Fox or something, because that just reminds me of my childhood, reminds me of football, obviously, and it's fan. I know we talked about it before, but it's just great.
I like how they use it on other things also. I mean, they use it on different. It's always synonymous with the NFL, but they do use it on other, college football and that kind of thing. And yeah, I agree. I think it's the best music in, in all sports combined. There are a couple good ones. I know back in the day, the
NBA on NBC.
Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah. But this one, a good one as well. Yeah. So, the music means one thing. We're back. If you don't know, if you're new to the show, we break down every NFL game and give a pick for each. Right, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Whether we like it or we don't.
Right.
And that's why on this show, whether it's, whether you like us or don't, we give a play for every game, okay? Whether we like it or not, we keep a record. We didn't do too well last week, Ryan. 3-7-1 actually. We had a couple good plays, but NFL was really tough last week. NFL is tough. Look, I mean, it's why I give it out for free. I don't really, I do decently well with it, but I don't really I don't bet it like I do college. It's very tough. So, but this week, kind of some good games. I think we might have some good edges on this ones, and we've had some good weeks in the NFL. So hopefully we can, get week 7 on point and do well with it. So if you're out there, retweet, listen, live, favorite, whatever. If you want to interact with us, feel free on the app. All you got to do is hit the little message icon. You can log in and chat with us live. And if you have a question, feel free to feel free to interact. So, Ryan, let's jump into NFL Week 7. And, after the show, we'll chat a little about college football yesterday in Week 8. Fun day yesterday. But let's jump into it. We had people at tailgates, Ryan. We had people in their house. We had people. It's cold on the East Coast, by the way. And I know you don't think it means much, and I'm sure it won't in the NFL, but just keep in mind some of the East Coast matchups, a wind is a kind of a problem. And I know
today more than yesterday, too, Jeff. It's more windy today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, only about 15 miles, and today it's going to be upwards of 40.
And I know, I don't think you watched it, but I know yesterday, even in that Navy-Memphis game, wind was a problem with punts and things like that, certain trajectories and that kind of thing. So, obviously you want to keep, twine with that. Obviously Eagles are East Coast. You got Jets, Ravens. You got some games that may be affected. But let's jump into it here. Let's go to that game. 1 o'clock Eastern, first game on the card. Minnesota Vikings -3 at the Philadelphia Eagles, over under 39.5. So 39.5, clearly seeing a little bit of a low total there. Obviously a lot more to do with the Vikings defensively. But we started with the Vikings. Last 5-0 team left, last undefeated team left, and what Mike Zimmer's done there has been pretty impressive. He brings in Sam Bradford. Bradford having a bit of a renaissance in his career. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's been very efficient. Has a good completion percentage, has found some weapons there, and he's kept a team that has a running game that's non-existent. He's kept them in games and won them games. So, Bradford, now he's heading back to Philadelphia, a place where, look, I think we can be honest, it wasn't, they didn't love him very much here. He had a little bit of a tough experience, but, he's back, and I think he's probably going to be out for blood today. Facing an Eagles team who, couldn't move the football last week, had some real issues on the offensive line. Lane Johnson being out really affected this team. They're going to go with Vitae again, which, Ryan, I think both you and I can agree that's a mistake. But Doug Peterson, for whatever reason, is worried about an NFL professional's confidence in this kind of game, which I agree with a lot of the guys around here. Fuck that. It's about winning football games, not about rookies' confidences. They also didn't look good, particularly defensively. They got shredded by a bad rush offense. And you got a rush defense that's not very good here either. Ryan, it's hard to go against a team that's 14-4 against the spread on the road over the last 3 years. They've covered 20 of 28 against conference opponents, and they're 29-9 overall against the spread over the last 3 years. Couple that with the fact that the Eagles, look, they've struggled, and I know you're going to point to the fact that they've won, 3 games, but at the end of the day, it was against the Cleveland Browns, the Chicago Bears, and the Pittsburgh Steelers on a day where they just couldn't do anything right. I don't know, maybe the Eagles are starting to show their true colors here, and they're playing a defense that's really good. Look, if the Eagles can win this game, they'll prove me wrong once again, but I'm not interested in them in this spot. I like the Vikings -3. I think the line's a little bit low, to be honest. I think the Vikings continue to play well. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think the line's extremely low. I think this is a very odd line for the way the Eagles have been playing the last couple weeks, and the fact that Minnesota is 5-0, has had success on the road over the last 25 or so games. So that's what jumps out to me is, I just think I would feel more comfortable backing the Vikings if this line was 5 or 6, somewhere in that area. But at 3, that kind of screams red flag to me. Honestly, I want to kind of lean Eagles here. I kind of have a weird feeling they somehow pull one out today. But the way they've played the last couple weeks, it's really hard for me to engage in that feel 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow win this game. Just 3-point home dog. That's a traditional spot in the NFL where those teams sometimes win. So a lot of the times win, actually, it seems like in the NFL. I know it's a low total, but I lean under. I do. I know the Eagles' defense in the first half the last 2 weeks has struggled, but this team still has not given up a touchdown in the second half the entire year. So if we're talking about the whole game here, I'm going to go under. I think Minnesota, I do. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to play, but he's dinged up. He's really their only sort of game changer playmaker that they have. So he's dinged up, but he's going to play. Kyle Rudolph, obviously. But other than that, I mean, their running game, you're going to have to go with McKinnon and Matt Asiata, who don't really scare you. And then offensive with the Eagles, I think they'll struggle to score points today as well. So I like the under in this spot. I know it seems low. I know 39, 40 seems like a low number, but I do. I think this is kind of like a 2017, somewhere in that neighborhood, 17, 14. I do. I think, and the thing too about the Eagles too that I'm not really ready to pull the trigger yet is the fact that they've struggled to score touchdowns this year and having to kick field goals in 40-mile-per-hour winds. Sturgis has been good this year, but kicking in 40-mile-an-hour winds, Jeff, is just not something I want to do. So
I mean, this line is telling you that the Vikings and Eagles are basically even.
That's what they think.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
It is, and that's why
we watch this team every week.
Right, and that's why the line kind of worries me. It seems too easy to bet the Vikings at -3.
Yeah, it does, but
so that's my concern, and it seems like everyone's on Minnesota, so that's why I'm concerned.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this has an eerie feeling to that Pittsburgh Eagles game a couple weeks ago. It was the same line, if I can remember correctly. It was in Philly, same kind of situation.
Yep.
Eagles, down and out. Are they? Do we overthink this team? They only beat 2 good teams. That's where we're at with this game, and it's a very similar situation. I think if you like the Eagles, I would just take the money.
I would agree with that. And they're wearing black jerseys today. Haven't lost wearing the black jerseys. I know you don't like hearing it, but it's a large sample size. 8 or 9-0.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess there's some kind of validity to it, but one thing you can point out, I think Diego makes a good point. I think Vikings offensive line struggles a little bit. Eagles have to get a pass rush gun. Vinny Curry, Fletcher Cox have not been relevant.
And it sounds like Connor Barwin's snaps are going to get decreased today, and Vinny Curry
will
see more snaps, which I feel like is a good thing. So,
and we need to stop seeing Michael Kendricks, so much on defense. Michael Kendricks cannot get the job done. He quit on this team last week and in previous weeks. One caveat: Eagles at home this year, 32 points per game. It's going to be tough this week though against a really good defense, a defense that they have not faced this year. I mean, really, let's look at it. I mean, none of the teams that they face have a defense quite like this. So, I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I'm going to take the bait. Will I be betting this game? No. This will actually be an Eagles game that I will not look and get involved with. Eagles are allowing 1 point every 40 yards gained. Don't think I've ever seen numbers like that at home. Yeah, I mean, but they faced the Browns on Pittsburgh. But true.
Exactly.
Pittsburgh couldn't do anything that game. But look, I'm going to keep hoping. It's a week to week with this team anymore. They make you want to pull your hair out. Last week, they make you want to pull your hair out. The penalties have to get cleaned up.
Well, yeah.
27 penalties last 2 weeks for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to hope Doug Peterson laid down the law at practice.
Yeah.
I get the feeling he doesn't really lay the law down.
One thing I like, and if I don't think I've never seen a coach do this, but one thing I do like, the last thing I'll say on this game is if you watch Hard Knocks this year, Jeff Fisher, who I don't like, I know a lot of people don't like, and not some people wonder how he still does a job. But one good thing he does is for every penalty that team has, whether it was on offense, defense, or special teams, that entire unit has to run sprints per penalty. So imagine if Peterson did that. This team would be gassed by the time practice started. And I would say freaking do it. And I'd say, you don't want to run? Then stop getting penalties.
The one issue I have with Peterson and that I'm starting to see is he seems a little passive. Like I feel like he's the dad in the house that is kind of the one that says, "Oh well, what'd your mom say?" Well, okay, you can do it. Like I feel like he's a little passive. He's a little bit easy to deal with. You can kind of walk all over.
Well, he's
him
a player's coach, and that's what he is. So I mean,
which Chip Kelly was, and
look how that worked out.
Right, but Andy Reid, never won anything. He was the same way. So either or. Under, you might be onto something there, Ryan, at 39.5. Very low, though. But you think this is probably a drag-out game, I would imagine?
I would think so. Philly, the last couple weeks, really hasn't been able to get big plays, and neither Minnesota's not a big play offense. They like to kind of methodically move the ball down the field, so you think the clock would be running.
So you're going to go under 39.5. I'll go Vikings -3. So 2 plays for this one. Next one, Ryan. 1 o'clock Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs -6.5 against the New Orleans Saints. Over-under 51.5. Very high total for a Kansas City game. You don't see too many totals this high. The thing is here, you look at the Saints. They lead the NFL in passing yards, 335 yards per game, and defensively they have some problems, giving up 34 points per game on defense. That's why you see a lot of high spread totals in these games. The Saints love to throw the ball, and they can't stop anybody. Kansas City playing pretty well at home, 28 points per game, and it's not the same old Chiefs defense either. This isn't that really knock down, hold you to 13 points a game Chiefs defense. The Saints are pretty good as a dog over the years, Ryan. Last 3 years, 11-3 as an underdog, and this year they've covered 3 in a row as an underdog. So in an underdog role, they're getting the job done. I would much rather love this at 7 than 6.5. 6.5 just a number you really don't really like if you're backing a dog. I would recommend buying it up to 7 points. I'll take a shot with the Saints here. I'm not going to bet this game. I'm not in love with it. But I'm going to buy up to +7 and get that key 7 points. And I'm going to go with the Saints. I think offensively, I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I don't know. I really don't have much opinion on this game, but I'm giving it one pick for the show. I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, look, you talk about inconsistency regarding the Eagles. I'm not sure there's been a more inconsistent team than the Kansas City Chiefs early on this year. Look, week 1, a game that they were seamlessly dead in, and they come back and win. Then they poo the bed at Houston, come back and beat the Jets, get smashed by Pittsburgh on the road, just never had a chance in that game. And then last week, they go to Oakland and really just kind of dominate the kind of upstart Raiders and only hold them and that offense to 10 points. So it's hard to get a gauge on them, and it's really hard to get a gauge on kind of the Saints. I don't really like backing the Saints on the road. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. If this was a touchdown or more, you obviously would lean in the direction of the Saints. Arrowhead's a tough place to go in and play, man. It really is. I'll lean Saints. I will. I'll lean Saints. If this was a game you're interested in, you really kind of like the Saints, and you're about 90%, yeah, I would definitely suggest buying that half a point. But at the current line at 6.5, I'll go Saints.
Yeah, I'm not into this game whatsoever. It won't be on my card or even a free, nothing here for me. Next one, 1 o'clock Eastern. Lions -1 against the Redskins. Over/under is 50. Both these teams on little win streaks here. Lions 2-game win streak. Matt Stafford playing well, looking like a pretty decent quarterback this year. Two good offensive teams, I think we can both say, and two teams that don't particularly enjoy running the ball or run the ball on a frequent basis. Last week, the Redskins just kept running the ball because the Eagles couldn't stop it. But two teams that don't generally like to run the ball. Redskins, good playmakers on the outside. Same with the Lions, Marvin Jones, and others. Redskins, Ryan, we've talked about it before on this show. They're allowing a league-high conversion rate of 57.5% on third down on defense. They just are not getting off the field on third downs. And against a guy, Matt Stafford, who's really been winging the ball around, that could present problems. Offenses are clicking here. Over/under 50. I'm going to take a shot with the over here. I think this is like a 28-27 type of game. I think it's a close game, 30-27 maybe. I think this game gets over 50. I think both these offenses will move the ball methodically down the field, and I don't see a lot of stops here. Definitely some key pieces missing on the defensive side, particularly for the Lions. I go over 50.
Yeah, this is another game that I really have not much interest in. Jordan Reed's not going to play again this week. He's out with a concussion. That kind of hurts. One thing that I if I would pick a side, is I would kind of side with the Lions. Is this is actually their third straight home game. So I mean, Christ, they've been in Detroit for going on almost a month. So got to think that they are just kind of in a nice little groove right now. And Stafford's been playing fantastic. 14 touchdowns. I think that's good for third or fourth in the league so far in this young year. Marvin Jones and Golden Tate are really helping him out. What Washington doesn't do particularly well is stop the run. Eagles, for whatever reason, couldn't solve that last week. And Detroit's running game is really kind of bruised and battered right now. So you don't think that they're going to really run the ball. So Stafford's going to have to beat them. And I think he can beat them. Their secondary is nothing special either. I lean Lions, but I think some points will be scored, Jeff. I think 50 is a little low. I'll lean to the over as well. I think both teams should score. Kirk Cousins is weird, man. Talk about like up and down. So many teams and players in the NFL anymore are just up and down, and it makes it. I was talking to nobody last night talking about how hard it is to bet in the NFL, and just the inconsistency, I believe, is what makes it so difficult.
I actually think Kirk Cousins is a little bit better than you think. I mean,
if you look at his numbers and his game by game log, he's very up and down.
Put it this way, though, he seems to play well against bad teams, though. Or what is it? There's some kind of I don't know. I forget what it was. I know we've uncovered it recently, but I mean they have playmakers. I mean I think they'll move the ball. Jameson Crowder, Deshaun Jackson. But for the sake of this, I think over. You would agree? Try the play here, but yeah, I mean I don't think Kirk Cousins is the picture of consistency either.
No,
he's kind of like
he's not.
Just a game in quarter. I wouldn't give him a big contract. Put it that way.
Yeah. But in a dome too, a fast track. Yeah, I think some points should be scored for sure.
Over 50 to play in that one. Bengals -11 against the Browns. Over/under 46. Just goes to show you how bad the market is on the Browns. I mean, the Bengals suck, and they're 11-point favorites against the Browns. I tried backing the Browns last week, and they covered, actually. Backdoored against the Tennessee Titans, who, again, just continue to show why are they a favorite ever. This Tennessee Titans team is a mess. How they are a favorite in any game is beyond me. And it's interesting because in a moment, they're a favorite again today, Ryan, for whatever reason. Bengals laying 11, over/under 46. Cleveland 0-6, Ryan. They're scoring just 18 points per game and giving up 29, so that's not going to win you a lot of games. Cincinnati, though, I mean, 18 points a game. They haven't really gotten it going either. Their run offense has been pretty non-existent. And they have some personnel issues. I know they've had some issues with Burfict. And is the Marvin Jones experiment over at this point? I mean, really?
What?
Or whatever his name is. Marvin whatever.
Lewis.
Yeah, whatever. Is that experience over here? I mean, my God, 9 years. This guy's not won anything. Can we move on from Marvin Lewis, please?
Everyone except for ownership feels that way. So,
for whatever reason, they feel this guy's a winner. Look at the last 4 years, or last four games between these two teams, Ryan. All four have went under. So, drag out, knock down games. Tyler Eifert back, so that should help with a 29th in the league scoring offense here from Cincinnati. They really need to score. Their issues, Ryan, have come in the red zone. I mean, they've not been able to score touchdowns. They should score in the red zone today. Facing a Browns team, 30th in the league, giving up 16 touchdowns in 22 trips. That's pretty bad at an NFL level. I'm going to take a page out of the college football book, and I'm going to lay the number with the Bengals here. I think for 1 week, they bounce back and have a big win here. I think they win like 27-13, something like that. I think they'll score a decent amount of points. I think they'll play pretty good defensively. And I think they're going to score in the red zone, something they haven't done. Look for Eifert to come back and have a decent game here today. I'm going to go Bengals. I'm going to lay the
Bengals aren't, in my opinion, they're not one of the upper echelon teams. But you look at their schedule, the NFL really handed them kind of a murderer's row schedule the first 6 weeks of the season, playing Pittsburgh, Denver, Dallas, and New England for those 6 games, and 3 of which were on the road. So I think coming back home, getting Eifert back, who will help tremendously in the red zone, which is an area they've kind of struggled this year, really putting touchdowns on the board. They struggled horribly week 1 against the Jets, somehow found a way to win that game. But, just not really scoring the points that this offense should with the kind of playmakers they have. You get Eifert back, he'll help out a lot. And Terrell Pryor's banged up. He's the only silver lining that Cleveland really has. Sounds like he's going to play, but he's dinged up, and that obviously I'm sure the Bengals will focus in on him. So I agree. I wasn't sure where you were going to go with this game, if you were going to go side or total or whatever, but yeah, I'm on the Bengals here. I know a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, how are the Bengals? Why are they laying double digits here?" I think they should cruise at home. I think getting Eifert back helps more than people realize.
Yeah, I agreed totally. I just think this is a spot where the public and the markets are low on the Bengals. I mean, how many times do the Browns have to show you that they can't compete at this level?
They really may not win a game all year. They're bad. I mean, seriously.
I mean, last week was their one winnable opportunity.
I mean, the rest of their game, they will be underdogs in every game from here on out. I really don't know where you see a win. Maybe at Baltimore. That's really kind of...
Maybe the Giants. I mean, the Giants aren't very good. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think they're going to be. They won't be a favorite. No, they're never a favorite. No. But there's no Jacksonville really on that schedule.
There's no awful team.
Yeah. Right. We're going to both go Bengals in this game, -11. It could turn out to be a pretty easy winner, maybe. I just get the feeling this is a blowout.
Okay.
I do. 1 p.m. I like this one, Ryan, coming up here. Buffalo Bills, -2.5 at Miami, over under 45. In the words of Ken Chris, come on, Miami. Miami played well last week. They got a win.
They played really well.
But Big Ben didn't play hardly at all. And, they ate up a bad defense in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh gave up a lot of yards in that game. And, now they face a Buffalo team who's really been playing well. 4 in a row they've won, all of them by double digits, Ryan. And they have the leading rush offense in the NFL. I couldn't believe that. I didn't know that. I was doing some breaking down of the games here, and I mean, they lead the NFL by a decent margin, 147 yards rush per game. And last week they're off the game, which they had 312 yards on the ground.
Yep.
How about that? LaShawn McCoy back. He's going to play today, which is huge for them.
Going to be kind of on a pitch count, just throwing that out there. He's not obviously going to play his full boatload of snaps. So
now, who's their backup still? C.J. Spiller?
No, I think it's Gillislee or whatever. Because they got rid of
Marcus Gillislee.
Because they got rid. I can't remember who it is, dude.
Carlos Williams.
It is. It's Mike Gillislee. I was right.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know who that is. However,
he's averaging 6.8 a carry this year.
Okay.
So.
And you look at Miami, Ryan. In 6 games this year, they've given up 100 yards or more in 5 of those 6. They actually have. They're actually the worst rush defense in the NFL, average wise. So, pretty good matchup if you ask me from a Buffalo standpoint. But Buffalo is pretty one-dimensional. I mean, they can't really throw the ball really. But you look at Tannehill in this offense, not very good either. I'm going to go with Buffalo here. I'm going to ride the wave. They've covered 3 or 4 against Miami. And I'm just not very high on Miami. I think they got lucky last week without Big Ben in there. I think the Bills are continuing to flying under the radar, and Rex Ryan has his team believing right now. I like Buffalo in this game.
Yeah, Buffalo's been the most dominant team in the AFC over the last month. Won 4 games in a row, and their average margin of victory in those games is 17 points. And speaking of dominating, they've dominated the Dolphins as of late. They've won 5 of 6, 4 of which have been blowouts. And Rex Ryan has won his last 4 trips to Miami, dating back to when he played with the Jets. So there's some kind of streaks and some trends there that kind of point in the favor of Buffalo. Wish that line was a little higher. Under a field goal, that's weird for a team that's been just rolling. And a team, the Dolphins, that has looked really piss poor this year, with the exception of last week. That makes me kind of scratch my head a little bit. But the Dolphins, they've been bad in the division over the last handful of years. They're on a nice little homestand now, but I can't go against Buffalo right now. I really can't. The way they're running the ball, Tyrod Taylor's been playing better, and defensively they've been stingy. I'll go Buffalo, but. It's just another weird. In my opinion, there's some weird lines out there this week that kind of just make me scratch my head and say, why is that team only favored by this much, or why is this team catching that many points? So,
I actually like Buffalo. I think they're one of the better plays so far that we've talked about. I think they will continue to impose their will in the run game against Miami. And look, Miami can't stop the run. I mean, they're the worst per average team giving up rush yards in the NFL. So for me, I'm going to go with the Bills here. Ron, I want to shout out a new listener listening in. Nick knows his MMA.
Okay.
So Nick, who knows his MMA, is listening in. Nick, thanks for listening. Hope you're getting some good information here. And I think he's coming over. He's a client over at c2csportsfirm.com. Ryan, me and Sean had a really nice day yesterday in college football. Hopefully we can continue that today.
Right.
Might have a play in the NFL. I don't know. But we got to get you going, Ryan. We got to get you on the website.
We'll see.
You're doing some decent things, so we got to get you on, Ryan.
We'll see.
Buffalo -2.5. So you're going to go with that as well.
Yeah.
Kids get back to the Dolphins.
Yeah, and that's the reason.
Not really.
I really don't feel comfortable putting my money in the hands of them. So
yeah, 1:00 Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars -2.5 against the Oakland Raiders, over/under 47. Line to open up at 1, Ryan. So sharps are betting the Jags here.
Yeah.
But again, the sharps really do that a lot. They like to kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit. Oakland, though, 3-0 against the spread this year on the road. They've covered 13 of 19 on the road. For whatever reason, getting the job done on the road. Jacksonville 6-9 at home over the last 3 years. Oakland, look, score a lot of points, but they also give up a lot of points too. They're kind of just a team that you want to outscore you. And the problem right now with Oakland, and the problem that I have backing them here is they have some grave injury concerns on the offensive line, Ryan. I think I've read that 4 of their 5 offensive linemen may not play in this game. I think Austin Howard, former Eagle, is the only active non-injured offensive lineman right now. They have some real injuries on the line. So, keeping Derek Carr up and stable is going to be a challenge, I think. It's a tough game. I think it's a tough game in the card, to be honest. I think this is a really, really hard game. Blake Bortles has interception issues. Both teams get penalized a lot. This could be a really ugly game. My advice, stay away from it. For the sake of this podcast and why sometimes I kind of hate having to give out a play for every game, I'll go with the Raiders. Just the fact that they're on the road and they've been good on the road and they're getting points here. But I haven't had a good read on Jacksonville. It seems like every time I bet them, the opposite happens. So I'll go Raiders. I'll go against all that I like to do here and give them a shot here.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lean Jacksonville here. I do. The Raiders have, for all the talk of Khalil Mack and some of the players they brought in via free agency and in the draft, the defense has been terrible. I mean, they've been the worst. They are last in the league in yards allowed per game at 445 yards allowed, 24th in scoring defense. This team's allowing 27 points per game. And look, Jacksonville, look, they've got off to a kind of a rocky start. They're only 2-3, but some of the playmakers they have on offense is you can't. I mean, Bortles can sling it, 2 wide receivers, and Allen Robinson and Hearns, and then they're going to get Julius Thomas back today, so that's another weapon to throw into the mix. They're coming off 2 wins, granted against not 2 great teams in Indianapolis and Chicago, but Oakland's nothing special in my opinion either this year because of that defense. I lean Jacksonville. I do.
Okay. I'll go Raiders. You're going to go Jacksonville. Obviously, clear toss-up, the first game that we're on opposite sides in. So probably that would mean you'd want to avoid this game at all costs and not bet it. Fortunately, though, we have to give a pick. Next game, 1 o'clock Eastern. By the way, there is a game in London going on currently, which not many people give a flying fuck about.
Unless you're a Giants or a Rams fan.
Right. And
or bet on it.
It's 10-10.
Rams got up 10-0 early, and then Giants scored 10 unanswered via a pick 6 by Landon Collins. So here we are at 10-10.
Tennessee Titans laying 3.5 to the Colts, over under 48.5. Ryan, the Colts have won 9 in a row against Tennessee and 14 of 15. Andrew Luck has never lost to Tennessee, and he's went 4-0 on the road. So 4 out of the 7 wins he's had against Tennessee have come on the road. I mean, I know we've talked about this time and time again, but it's just hard to believe that an NFL team is this bad against the spread. Tennessee 0-3 at home this year, 3-14 at home over the last 3 years, 1-11 against this division over the last 12 against the spread, and 2-13 against teams with losing records. They are atrocious against the spread. Why are they a favorite in this game? From the sheer standpoint of the Colts' ability to win against Tennessee and Tennessee's inability to cover, I don't care that the Colts don't play good defense. It doesn't bother me. I just don't trust Tennessee, and I will not put my money in the hands of Tennessee. Colts have covered 3 or 4 against the Titans, and, look, I'm not sure Tennessee has the offense to exploit anybody. They're not that good on the offensive side. They're only scoring 18 points a game, and, look, I know the Colts give up 412 yards a game, but I like my chances with Andrew Luck against a team that he's never lost to. Getting 3.5, I'm going to go with the Colts. I'm just not interested in betting the Titans. I'm
not interested in betting on either one of these teams. The Colts have, you talk about their defense, Jeff. They're 30th overall, 29th against the pass, and 25th against the rush. And Tennessee and DeMarco Murray have run the ball really well this year. And, I could pick them on the show last week against the Browns, and, it looked good until the back door kind of swung open and Browns walked on through. But I will not back them again, and I'm not going to back the Colts. I think you see some points here. I think you see some fireworks. I think both teams kind of score. I'll go over 48.5.
I would lean that way.
That's kind of the direction I'm going. I mean, the Colts' defense is really, really bad. And look, I think the Colts should be able to score as well. Andrew Luck and that offense, T.Y. Hilton and whatnot. That's the direction I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean over that. That's the direction I'll go.
Ryan, our old friend Doc, you know Doc, right?
I do.
He'll be on the show actually this week for college. He called me this week. We were talking, and he actually took the Titans to win this division, like a live bet, which I think it's some decent value. Jags, Texans, and
running away with it. Yeah.
Maybe you see a turn being. A corner being turned with the Titans.
This division's dog shit.
Yeah. But, I mean, laying 3.5, I'm just not interested in the Titans.
Sure.
From a sheer standpoint of they burn money against the spread.
Yeah.
They're the worst team by a lot against the spread over the last 3 years. So I'm going to go Colts plus 3.5 and over 48.5 you like in this one. I think it's a good play. Next one. 1 p.m. Jets minus 2.5 against the Ravens. Over under 41. Again, another game where you got to kind of be intertwined here with the weather. Windy it will be in New York today. Joe Flacco, Ryan, Ravens quarterback, he will play. He is hurt though, a little bit of a shoulder injury. He is 3-0 against the Jets in his career though, so obviously that's something you want to keep in the back of your pocket. No Steve Smith today. He's not going to play. So there's a weapon gone for a struggling.
Just want to throw this out there too, Jeff. Just some late developing news here. Flacco is active, but he hasn't been on the field in pregame warmups yet, which is interesting considering you think he'd want to get warmed up and test out that injury. But he hasn't been out there, and I know it's only 11:30. He's still got some time, but just want to make the listeners clear of that.
And there's an alert also. Geno Smith is going to start today, which if you like the under, probably a good bet for you. Both offenses struggling. Jets only 11 points per game over their last 3 games, and I mean, Ryan, you look at this Jets defense. I mean, over the years, been pretty good under Todd Bowles and Rex Ryan, but this defense has been a mess, giving up over 27 points a game. Baltimore's covered 8 of 9 against the Jets, and the problem for me in this game, there's just so many injuries on both sides of the ball. You look at these, these injury reports for both teams, and they're long. With the windy conditions, Flacco struggling and injured. Geno Smith undoubtedly may not move the football very much. I think this is a great game for both defenses to play well in. I'm going to go under 41.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Joe Flacco, he's saying they expect him to play. This guy couldn't even lift his arm on Monday morning. And now 6 days later, he's going to go out and play an NFL football game on the road nonetheless. Look, if I would lean a direction, it'd be New York. Look, I think New York should win this ball game. If Geno Smith just plays half better than what Fitzpatrick has played, most importantly, just don't turn the ball over. And that's what had been killing the Jets, is those interceptions that Fitzpatrick has been on. If Geno Smith could just go out there and kind of manage the game a little bit and not try to do too much, and I think that's the reason that defense has been so subpar. They've been on the field a lot and having to work with short fields because of the interceptions that Fitzpatrick had been throwing. So, low total, I guess I lean under. Both teams, I think you probably would want to run the ball with Geno Smith, who's not a world beater, and Flacco, who's dinged up. I'll go under, and if I had to lean the side, I would lean the Jets here, actually.
Yeah, I can't bet them right now, especially with Geno and their issues defensively. I think they'll play decent defensively, though. This is a good team to kind of get your wits back and play well against. Under 41 to play for us for this one. Let's go to the 4 o'clock games. Couple here. 4:05, Falcons -6 against the San Diego Chargers. Over-under 54. Ryan, San Diego plays a lot of close games. If you look at over the years, they have, even in this year, I mean, a lot of their losses have come, by 7 points or less. And you look at it as a road dog over the last 3 years, San Diego a perfect 6-0 as a road dog of 3.5 to 7 points. So they're playing in close games and they're covering as well. And you got to feel bad for them. I mean, they especially if you're an offensive player. I mean, they've kind of given up the lead late in games.
4 losses by a combined 12 points.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. They're playing in a dome here against the Falcons, who are probably the best offense in the NFL. Maybe not statistically, but I think we could probably all agree they're probably the best offense in the league. Matt Ryan playing very well. This Charger defense, Ryan, they're giving up 31 points per game on the road, and they've lost all 3 road games this year. They have struggles on the defensive side. Falcons, as far as betting them, I mean, I don't know how you can really feel confident in betting them right now as a favorite. I mean, in the last 17 games as a favorite, Ryan, take a guess at how many they've covered as 17 as a favorite.
I'll say 6.
3. Wow. I mean, they're horrible as a favorite. They're 5-1 against the spread this year, though.
They are.
Which, I think a lot of those were as an underdog, but both teams love to throw the football, Ryan. Both these teams are terrible against the pass. I'm going to go over 54. Okay. The line's high. Again, you may want to. This is probably definitely a square side for sure, but I mean, Falcons games have gone way over this year. I think this game is going to be similar to last night's Texas Tech Oklahoma game. Wow. Just kidding. Okay. It's not going to be that bad. Okay. But I think they get to the 60s here. Honestly. Really? Okay. I think it's like a 34-30 type of game, something like that.
Look, Atlanta has really shown me something over the last kind of handful of weeks, and it's impressive because I didn't think it was something they were capable of doing. They had won 4 in a row and probably should have won last week against Seattle. But as always, for some reason, Richard Sherman just continues to get away with penalty after penalty. And that was a blatant pass interference call on Julio Jones, and nothing's called. And that's just another reason on why the NFL is continuing to go down the shitter, but that's for a different day and a different conversation.
Officials in general suck, Ryan.
Yeah,
I mean, it's every sport.
I hear you, but
it's brutal.
As far as this game goes, look, I think Atlanta coming back home, a place that they've been playing really well as of late. And let's not forget, too, what they've been doing. They lost week 1 at home against Tampa. But then 4 of those next 5 that I talked about, where they had won 4 of 5, were on the road. So now they get to come back home in that dome, where the last time they were there, they put up 48 points. I like Atlanta today. I think Atlanta, I know they haven't had success at ATS. I know San Diego has played close games, but I just have I think this kind of hurts San Diego here. Phillip Rivers has been fantastic, but I think Atlanta could put up as many points as they want today.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of fading the Chargers just because they play in close games. But I think the one knock on Atlanta is defensively they have issues. I mean, they're pretty young on the defensive side, not good against the pass. I'm just saying, why don't we just get away from having to pick a side? And again, Ryan, I mean, they're horrible as a favorite. I mean, they're just not getting it done. Yeah. So are you going to go over here, or are you going to go with Falcons?
Yeah, I'll go over.
Over, very good. We're going to agree with this one. I think it's a great play. I really, how many Falcons games have we seen that are just like wild matchups?
The last 2 weeks have been kind of down, but that was a product of playing Seattle and Denver. So,
but against Seattle, I mean, it was still, what is it, 27-26, I think?
No, it was 26-24, so there was 50-point score, which I'm pretty sure that went over. So.
Yeah, so it's still, still getting high scores against some of these teams. I think this is a wild one today. Next one, 4:05 Eastern. You get the 49ers minus 1.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, over under 46. Tampa, Ryan, off of a bye week, and San Francisco is back here at home. 1-5 against the spread, San Francisco, and their bad ATS over the last couple years, 14-24 over the last 38 against the spread. For San Francisco, the story is pretty easy. They're a horror show on the road, and they're actually decent at home. They've actually played pretty well at Levi Stadium. But defensively, they've had an issue. But only giving up 19 points a game at home and facing a Tampa Bay offense that hasn't been as crazy as it normally is. Only scored about 18 points a game. Jameis Winston throws at least 2 interceptions every game, it seems like. And I know we talked about Kaepernick last week. We didn't really have the right side there. They got crushed against the Bills. But now he's back at home. He's the starter right now in his home stadium. Should be rejuvenated. And, Ryan, you look at Tampa Bay, injury issues. Gerald McCoy, Robert Ayers, Clinton McDonald on the defensive line. A lot of injuries on the defensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Probably their best area of on the defense. Their defensive line, a lot of injuries going on. And for San Francisco, no Carlos Hyde, Ryan. And that's kind of a problem because he's kind of been their best player on offense. They do get some key players back in the secondary. I'm going to go with the Niners here. Sorry. I'm not interested in the Bucs. Okay. I'm not interested. They're not good defensively. They haven't been scoring. And I think the Niners are actually pretty pesky at home. I mean, Ryan, can you give me a game this year at home they haven't been pesky in?
Who's that?
The San Francisco 49ers at home. They've actually been pretty good. Killed the Rams, hung around with the Cowboys.
And lost by 12 to the Cardinals.
The boy of the Bucs done.
Yes. I don't know. Both teams aren't very good, but look, I lean Tampa. I do. That's where I'll go in this game. I just like the playmakers that Tampa has more than the playmakers that the 49ers have. Mike Evans is a top 10 to top 5 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to talk about Mike Evans. I mean, he's done nothing for this team. They don't win games because of him.
He's
Jameis Winston. There's too many interceptions.
He's fantastic though, but
he should be on a good team.
And I think Jaquiz Rogers could have a good game. You look what he did in filling in for Doug Martin and Chris Sims last week. Or 2 weeks ago, they're coming off of a bye week, which is another reason I kind of like them against Carolina 2 weeks ago on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football on the road. Jaquiz Rogers kind of lit it up, and now you get to face that San Francisco rush defense that I talked about last week against the Bills that absolutely got destroyed. now they get to face a guy that I think, Chris Rogers, who could have a big game, not just running the ball, but also catching the ball in the backfield. I like Tampa here. That's the way I'll lean. San Francisco just doesn't do anything for me. Like they just. I look at the rosters and I look at the players. I would rather take the players that Tampa has over San Francisco.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'll go the other way. We've agreed on most of the games. We have two that we have not agreed on. You like the Bucks. I'm going to go with San Francisco. So either way, we're not going to win anything in this one. So it is what it is, and it's a toss-up. So I mean, it really doesn't matter too much. 4:25 Eastern. Good thing about that game is, Ryan, we can't lose two games in that one.
Right. Sure.
We're going to break even either way. So it really means nothing, this breakdown. 4:25 New England Patriots -7 at Pittsburgh over under 48. This is the most interesting game of the week to me, Ryan, because 82% of the money is on the New England Patriots.
Of course it is.
It's a grade A public bloodbath on the New England Patriots. However, how many times, Ryan, have the New England Patriots defied the odds and said, fuck you, NFL, we're going to cover anyway? How many times? They do it all the time.
I hear you.
I mean, the line hasn't moved. It stayed at 7 with 82% of the money on, and that's probably even more out in Vegas. New England's a public side. They're a bloodbath side. I just... But again, this is what the NFL does. Every week there's a game like this that just... It says, bet me, bet me, bet me, bet me, bet me. Last week it was Pittsburgh against Miami. What happened?
Yep.
Some phantom injury on Big Ben. He goes out and they get crushed. Pittsburgh is 3-0 against the spread at home this year, and they've covered 12 of 18 in Pittsburgh. But they're going with Landry Jones, who, listen, I know certain people say Landry Jones is decent. I think he's terrible. I think he's awful. He's only completing 57% of his passes in the NFL in his career. And in his career, 4 interceptions and 1 fumble to 3 touchdowns. I hate him. I don't think he's any good. I'm not a guy that has any belief that he can win against a team that gives up 17 points a game. Last week, Pittsburgh allowed 474 total yards to the Miami Dolphins. Not the Atlanta Falcons or the Saints. The Miami Dolphins. I don't want to do this, and I'm horrified that I'm even going to do it. New England rolls 31-13. Give me New England. But I don't want to do it because there's so many fucking people on New England. Teaser. Get New England in a teaser.
They should win. You imagine they win.
Landry Jones is not beating the fucking Patriots.
But the only thing about that I'll say is Landry Jones does have on that offense there's a lot of playmakers to help him out. Le'Veon Bell rushing the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield, Antonio Brown, and what Sammy Coates has given them. So I mean, they do have some firepower on offense,
like last week, right?
Which helps. But it's easier said than when you have to come right into a game versus being having a complete and week start to finish to prepare for a team. So, look, I'll lean New England as well, though. Brady has been masterful in his career against Pittsburgh. 6-2 lifetime against Steelers with 22 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. And this defense of Pittsburgh has, lately just not been as good as I thought they'd be. They're hit or miss, it seems like, but against the New England Patriots, the way they're playing and since Brady got back, I'll lean that way. But look, like Jeff said, all those people on New England, it's definitely worrisome. So,
yeah, I mean, this just looks like a blowout, but I think that's how everyone's thinking today, and it's definitely concerning. And every week there's a game where the NFL just defies the odds and somehow creates a movie and they lose. And it's 4:00 game too.
Yep.
I mean, it's like
4:30.
The last game on the card.
That game will be
But I think personally the way I'm going to go here, I'm going to bet because I really do not see the Steelers winning. So I'll take. Yeah, that's a good point, Sean Harnish. Team total over.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point actually because. That could very well be the winner in this game. That's what I'm going to do. Fuck it. Fuck that. I'm not betting the Patriots. I'm going to take team total over.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do. Yep. Because I don't want to be on the same side as the public here.
Right.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. Do you want to do that, Ryan?
Yeah, I would do that.
Let's go do that.
Yep.
Let's take team total over 27.5. That's our play in Pat's Pittsburgh.
Okay.
8:30. We'll review this one, Ryan.
We're going to review this Sunday night. Okay. We usually don't.
Might as well. Cards, well, I had some extra time. I got done at 10:50 Eastern, and I figured, fuck it, let's roll with it. Okay. Cards -1 against the Seahawks. Over under 43. Both defenses playing at a high level, Ryan. Cardinals off 3 wins. However, they were against the Jets, San Francisco, and Tampa Bay. So Cardinals are coming back a little bit, but they haven't beaten anybody. What's Palmer's status? Is he going to play in this game?
He's going to play.
He's going to be in.
Little dinged up.
Very good. How about David Johnson, Ryan?
He's a good player.
Is he an MVP candidate right now?
He's a good player. He's definitely in the discussion, I would think.
Out of Northern Iowa.
Yep.
Didn't even know they had a football team. Ali Farouk Manesh and that basketball team are the only things that I know about the Cedar Rapids Northern Iowa bunch. But David Johnson, 8 touchdowns and 833 total yards. Kid's been great. Problem is here, Cardinals are laying basically a point. It's a pick 'em. The Seahawks have owned them over the last 3 games in Arizona. Over the last 3 home games against Seattle, Cardinals have been outscored 105-34. So they're just not getting the job done. Cardinals, though, this just looks like a great game for them to get back into the talk and beat the Seahawks. The Seahawks offensively still kind of up in the air to me. Well, what do you mean?
Okay.
They faced the Falcons last week.
Yeah.
And before they've done nothing.
Really. And they allowed 24 points to the best offense in the not the country, in the league. I still think this team's very good defensively. You look at what they did prior to that, only giving up 10, 9, 18, 17, and then they
no,
gave
but
up 24
Ryan, again,
last
clearly I said their offense hasn't been very.
Oh, I thought you said their defense.
No, the defense. Is the
that's why I looked at you puzzling.
No.
Okay, I thought you said the defense.
No, their defense is good.
It sounded like you said.
No, I said both these defenses are playing at high levels.
It sounded like you said defense is up in the air. Okay,
their defense is always good. Okay. I always just.
No, offense has been dog shit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that. Yeah, I think both these defenses are pretty good. Actually, they're very good, and I think Russell Wilson will struggle and continue to struggle. Palmer, I think he's going to struggle a bit as well, but I think this is a good spot for the Cardinals at home. I think the knockdown, drag-out type of game, it'll be low scoring. I like the Cardinals. I think on the money line, I think they get the job done here for some reason.
Yeah, this is another game that I just kind of sit back and watch, but if I had to take a pick,
you got to go home team. Seahawks just aren't that good on the road.
Well, and I don't think Arizona is that good in general. Really, I mean, they've looked really just kind of subpar this year. There's another interception for Landon Collins.
He might.
So, look, I'll lean Arizona slightly, being at home, but I'm good. Like as far
Kurt Warner, that's right. He did go to Northern Iowa. How about that?
Yeah.
Good call, Scott. Who's Bryce Paup?
Not sure who that is.
I don't know who that is, but I know who Kurt Warner is, and that's a good call. I didn't know he went to Northern Iowa. I forgot about that. So you said you lean Cards?
I would slightly lean to the Cards.
So there we go. Let's recap, Ryan. A lot of plays today. Let's try to bounce back. We didn't have a good week last week, but let's have a good one this week. Get your pen and pad. Vikings -3, under 39.5. New Orleans Saints buy up +7. Redskins over 50. Bengals -11. Bills -2.5. Jags -2.5. I like the Raiders +2.5. But that game we both agreed total toss up. Colts +3.5. You like the over 48.5. Ravens under 41. San Diego consensus over 54. This one another wash. Bucks you like. I like the Niners. So obviously neither of those.
It's a shit
count.
game anyway.
Right. Both those games won't count. Patriots team total over 27.5. We both agree.
Good number too.
Cards -1. So we have 2 games where basically it's going to be a wash. Right. So we basically have a couple that we won't worry about, but everyone else will be in play. Ryan, I think this is what we'll do. Another thing. Many ask what game do you like the most? I'm going to ask you, what game do you like the most on this week's card? Do you like the Patriots team total? Do you like over 54 in Atlanta, San Diego? All the games are best opinions. Which game do you think you may bet on personally? Because you don't sell plays, so what do you like?
You're right, I don't. I like. It's between Buffalo or Cincinnati for me. Look,
okay.
I'll go. I'll go Buffalo.
Yeah, I actually really like Buffalo myself. I that's one of the games I really zeroed in on. I really like that game. They're just playing really well. So I actually kind of agree with you. I think that's one of the better plays. I think for me, I've mentioned teasers in the NFL. I'm a big fan of. I think if you can take the Bengals down to -5 and the Patriots down to 1, I think you have a really good teaser there, honestly. But, yeah, I agree. Buffalo, pretty good play. So that'll wrap that up. Ryan, just kind of a couple things from yesterday.
College football.
Yeah, right. Just kind of some recaps.
Yep.
First, obviously, big story. Ohio State loses to Penn State. The number 2 team goes down in a game where, look, they made some mistakes. The blocked field goal obviously hurt. Bounces right to the guy from Penn State. That's a bad loss, really.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. It's simple, but it's the perfect statement. It's a bad loss because at one point in that fourth quarter, I mean, it's 21-7, and Penn State couldn't do anything offensively, and just Ohio State seemed to have the game in hand, and then the fourth quarter came, and I don't know what happened to Ohio State, but just letting Penn State, letting that offense go on a 5-play, almost 90-yard drive and score to cut it to a 4-point game, and then they obviously get the blocked field goal and take it to the house. That's a bad loss for Ohio State. Ohio State looks vulnerable right now. I mean, would you agree with that?
No.
Over the last few games, I think this team looks vulnerable, especially on the offensive line and offensively in general. They have no one that's beating that beats you downfield. Mike Weber, the running back, has been good against bad teams, but against good teams.
Listen, not for nothing.
Open,
all due respect to what Penn State's doing, their defense sucks. I mean,
agreed.
Really, they have a ton of injuries at linebacker and in the secondary. Yeah, for me, look, Ohio State has been ever since last week, and this is what makes college football very interesting because Ohio State really hadn't played anyone. You could say Oklahoma, which fine,
it's a good one.
But Oklahoma's not going to win anything.
Right.
But up until the Wisconsin game, they really hadn't played anyone. Just like Michigan, just like several other teams. Washington hasn't really played anyone either. You're starting to see they probably should have lost against Wisconsin, and they lost last night.
Yeah.
Yes, of course I would be worried, especially on the defensive side because Barrett. He's just been average. I mean, they don't really have a guy, in my opinion. Look, I like Curtis Samuel. I think he's a speedster for sure. Is he going to take a game over? No. I mean, I don't think Mike Weber's going to take a game over either. Look, I would, and this is what I said to you last night. I would have loved to have seen Michigan, Ohio State undefeated, both of them,
sure,
kind of for the whole thing. But
still going to be for the whole thing if both teams run the table because the winner will.
Put it this way.
Games.
Ohio State, I do not have any belief that they can beat Alabama if they would get to that point. I don't think they're better than Washington. I don't think they're better than Michigan. Maybe a little. I don't know. Michigan will win that game, I think. I've said it before.
You said it last week.
Yeah, I'd really like Michigan in that game, honestly. I think, and again, I want to make this clear, perfectly clear. What Michigan really has not played anyone other than Colorado and Wisconsin, right. But Michigan plays who's on their schedule.
But still, is 2 good wins.
Right, and I think that game, like you said, is going to be important. But yeah, for Ohio State, the same luster's not there for me, and that's that's again, who knows?
Yep.
But if you're asking me, do I think they get to the College Football Final Four? No, I don't. That is a horrible loss yesterday.
It's brutal.
Terrible.
Their offensive line to me, that is the number one issue.
And please stop saying that going into Penn State is a tough game anymore. Stop saying that.
The team's just nothing special.
They're not.
They're nothing special this year, and they've kind of proven that.
And shame on Ohio State fans for saying that because they play in huge atmospheres every week. So don't give me that shit that they. That's a tough game to go into Penn State and win.
Right.
Joe Paterno ain't walking through the fucking door. Okay, these aren't the LeVar Arrington teams in the '90s. Okay, this is a freshman quarterback with a bad defense, and you went in there and got your ass kicked. And to make matters worse, it's not like it was a close game the whole way. Ohio State was rolling.
They were 14
and they allowed them to come back and win the football game. And at the end of the game, they had a shot, and they couldn't get it done.
I mean, you were 19-point favorites, and you lost outright.
Correct.
So,
and you're right. If they run the table, they will be in. If they beat Michigan, they will be in. But they're not going to beat anyone. I'm sorry. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm not saying, like, if you like Ohio State, you're wrong and stupid. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think right now they have some of the horses that Michigan has. Michigan has a pretty good quarterback. They have a good run game. They have playmakers on the outside. They have a guy, Jabril Peppers, who is a stone-cold Heisman Trophy candidate. For Ohio State, they just kind of bore me. Sorry. Am I wrong there?
Well, I don't know how you can look. What they've done just lately hasn't been impressive, and I'm talking just strictly as just a college football fan, not as someone that dislikes Ohio State. I'm just saying, as someone looking from the outside in at them, what they did last night in the fourth quarter, they had opportunities to go down the field, win the game, lengthen their lead even prior to the blocked field goal, and they couldn't do it. The offensive line, J.T. Barrett was just under pressure the almost the entire fourth quarter, and it was just them Penn State rushing 4. And I just think of when they play Michigan, how good Michigan probably is the best defensive line in football, and the way Don Brown can dial up blitz packages, and he might not even have to with the front for the pressure that front four gets. So Ohio State still has some I guess you could say hurdles to get over going forward. Maybe not as big as people would think, but they still do have to play Nebraska. I'm not a huge believer in Nebraska, but still, this is a top 10 team. So, we'll see what happens. But that obviously was the big story last night in college football.
Ryan, you laughed at me several weeks ago when I told you Ed Orgeron would be the coach at LSU going forward. Look, I think he's still got some stuff to do, but this guy is making a case, man. He really is. He's from that area. The kids love him. I think he's turned into a pretty decent option, honestly. This offense has been great. They've opened up. The run game's been fantastic. Defensively, we know they're going to be good. They're great at home. Tell me why Ed Orgeron's not a great fit for this team. You got to think outside the box sometimes. And I think that we already know he's a great recruiter.
I hear you.
It's like, I'm not comparing Jim Harbaugh to him at all, but it's like...
I hope not.
But just hear me out. He's going home, similar to the way Jim Harbaugh did, back to his school. Great recruiter, just like Jim is. If he can surround himself with some decent coordinators, I really truly believe he's a great fit for this team.
Look, I like Coach O. I do. I just think this
wins.
I think this is a product of basically just having a coach and an offensive coordinator that is just not inept, which I feel like Les Miles and Cam Cameron were just stupid, and we're stuck in the 1980s. With the talent that they have offensively, this is what they should be doing. With anyone that is knowledgeable about today's college football, LSU has the talent to where they should be scoring into the 30s every week. Really? And look, would I be upset if Coach O got the job? Would I say that's a bad hire? No, but, obviously they have to weigh their options and see who will be available and what direction that they could possibly go. But, yeah, I think that would be interesting because it's, like you said, he's from that area. So
I like it, but they have another nice win yesterday against Ole Miss, who I thought Ole Miss might have been.
Ole Miss.
Yeah, well,
I'm done. I'm so sick of that team. Just go away.
Well, they're bad defensively.
3-4. Like, leave.
Stop.
And they were ranked 23rd last night still somehow.
Yeah, well, they're gone now.
Right? I just don't get that.
Alabama barely gets a cover. If you were on Texas A&M, that's pretty brutal.
Yep. Had a chance for a backdoor.
Eddie Jackson out for the year though.
He is.
Which hurts. But we're not going to keep talking. We all know Alabama's good. Do we have to keep talking about?
They're the best team in football.
Yeah.
College football.
And we get that.
Yep.
It's like, do we have to keep talking about Alabama every week? Big tussle with I think Charleston Southern this week coming up.
Chattanooga or something.
Yeah, a big tough game coming up here. But to me, my two favorite parts of yesterday, Ryan. The first one was that just magnificent game between Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Wow, what a game. I watched pretty much every minute of it.
A lot of fireworks, yeah.
I stepped out at halftime to grab something, but other than that, I've watched everything. Over 1,700 yards, Ryan. 854 yards apiece.
Yeah.
Look, Mahomes is unbelievable throwing the football. It really is. I mean, how crazy is he? I mean, he threw for over 800 yards.
Counted for over 800 yards, yep. Between throwing and passing.
And
set a record.
I gave out the over in the game, and I was concerned because 85's high, regardless of what game it is. But, I mean, it was funny because the live over at one point, and I bet the live over at 115, and it went over.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Are you a fan of those kind of games? I love them. I think they're awesome.
Look, I've always been kind of ever since I was a kid. So I've always been partial to look. I just like defense.
Well, you love a good defensive.
I do.
Sure.
I've always kind of been that way. But yeah, every now and then, look, I kind of enjoy watching these games. It's kind of as a joke because you just see like wide receivers running free it's just like it kind of like what you're doing now it's what it does. It makes me laugh to think that like how can defenses be so poor?
We have a college fantasy league. Both you and I are in, and my three of my four receivers are Katie Cannon, James Washington, and D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah, and D.D. Westbrook has been ridiculous.
How do you not draft a Big 12 receiver? I mean, it's like
all they do is throw.
Yeah, and it's like it's just so awesome. Like, and it's fun once in a while watching a game like that. And then you had Washington State, who, they get the job done, don't cover, but get the job done against Arizona State. Another win for Mike Leach's crew. Yep. I don't know how many people caught it. I caught it though. I heard it on the broadcast. I don't know if you were watching. I don't think you were, but at the end of the game, handshake time. Todd Graham was not happy with Mike Leach. Mentioned chicken shit, bullshit. They weren't happy. No love lost between those two. Mike Leach didn't say anything. He just shook the guy's hand and walked up. That's one thing on Mike Leach I think is a little underrated. No matter if he wins or loses or feels about someone, certain coaches would just run off there. Mm-hmm. I think he made a point to go over.
Sure. Yeah.
How you doing? Thanks.
Yep.
We beat you though, buddy. Mm-hmm. But the comment Todd Graham made was, I've always respected you, but what you did was chicken shit and bullshit.
Yeah.
So you don't really respect him because, was Mike Leach wrong there though? In that situation, he had a point.
Well, he just said what he felt.
Right.
So
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Todd Graham's a shithead. Always has been.
Yep.
It's my opinion.
Is.
One other thing, Auburn, Ryan.
Yeah. Impressive.
It's all of a sudden, Sean White is Davis Webb and Patrick.
Well, it's not even Sean White. It's just the running game.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the running game just continues to just gash people. I mean, the first play of the game, 78-yard touchdown run. What did they run for? They ran for 543 yards, which is a school record and a SEC record. Look, I even said, and on our Wednesday show that I just wasn't a believer in Auburn, and I still am like, and what. They're a good team. They're better than I thought they were. That's kind of all I'll say. Arkansas, I should have known because Arkansas is the same team every year. They squeak into the rankings and then they shit the bed. And this year was no different. So props to Auburn. Look, that's a fantastic win. And they really don't have any sort of, in my opinion, really challenge. I mean, maybe at Ole Miss, some people think that's a challenge. I think it's a game they should win. Then they play Alabama the last game of the season. So sitting there with 2 losses.
Quickie, Rod, you went 0-2 yesterday in your picks.
First time all year.
Yes, first time all year.
Yep.
And look, I don't fault you for Arkansas. That was my one loser yesterday in my client place. I and it sucked because as the game got closer and closer to me, I was like, I even said to you, what did I say to you? I said, that line just feels like it just seems too obvious to take Arkansas. Yeah. And I saw some sharps taking Auburn, and it kind of worried me. But,
that's kind of why I was worried as well. It was just too weird. But
and I saw when Arkansas had a clear pick 6, they dropped. It was just
things just don't go your way.
And Ryan, how about yesterday, Houston? What the hell is going on with Houston? You talk about the worst losses today. I mean, Ohio State's was bad, but
it's clearly
Houston's was awful. Yeah. SMU. That Ben Davis kid, SMU's quarterback, was a joke against Temple and a couple other teams. Awful. Yep. Bye-bye, Houston. I mean, they were already gone.
And what does this say about Tom Herman?
Yeah. Yeah, well.
A name that's been circulating with bigger head coaching jobs. What does this say about him? I mean, you barely squeak one out against Tulsa. You lose yesterday at SMU. And what was the other? They lost another one, didn't they?
Navy.
Thank you. Navy. So,
by the way,
what does that say about Tom
I
Herman?
want to, real quick, Navy just continues to do what they do. If you're not involved with Navy, like against the spread over the weeks, you have to get on board.
Sure.
This Navy team, man, the option's great. This Worth kid, Will Worth, playing. I heard yesterday, you know what makes him right now really dangerous, this kid? He's a way better passer than Keenan Reynolds was. Mm-hmm. And they open up the passing game.
Yeah.
They force turnovers. They're the least penalized team in America. They're a great team to bet on, Navy. Last question, Ryan, before we go. I'm going to ask you two questions.
Okay.
Who's your Final Four?
Okay.
And who's the best Group of 5 team?
Oh, okay. I got what you're saying.
So
I got what you're saying. No, I got it. Okay.
There's probably 3 or 4. Real quick, though, I had yesterday Colorado got the job done, and over in Washington State, Arizona State. I think I said it would be 42-27. It was 37-32. It's not bad. So 2-0 for me. We go 2-2 yesterday. So It is what it is. So I'll ask you, Ryan, who is the Final Four in your opinion?
It's pretty cut and dry, I think. Alabama 1, Michigan 2, Clemson 3, Washington 4. As we sit right now, the loss by Ohio State, I think, really kind of clears things up going forward. And obviously, that was the first kind of big shakeup with the college football playoffs. So as it sits right now, I think it's pretty kind of cut and dry as far as that goes. So yeah, I go Alabama, Michigan, Clemson, Washington.
And I would agree. And the interesting thing is 3 of those 4 teams have really yet to be challenged. But again, very cut and dry. I would agree with you 100%. I just don't really know any other team that you would put in there above any of those.
Not sure. Yeah, not really sure. Maybe Louisville. Louisville has the one loss to Clemson, who is going to be in the top 4 this week again. So maybe you start to think about them if things kind of fall in line with them. If another team loses, like a Washington or a Michigan, they could possibly slide in there. So.
And Ryan, who's the best Group of 5 team? Obviously we'll put 4 teams in there probably. Western Michigan, Boise State.
Yes. To me, I think it's down to those two. Cause
I still think San Diego State is a very good team, but
because I'm not saying Houston.
Navy.
Look, Western Michigan yesterday kind of. Maybe that was just a kind of a letdown spot. I mean, every week you're not going to beat a team 42-7. That's just unrealistic.
Didn't win by 14,
right? And they still won by 14. Look, I still like Western Michigan a lot. And Boise State, I was high on going to the year. I still think they'll run the table.
They can't turn the football over.
But just for whatever reason, they just like to make things hard on themselves.
Found a way to win that game, though. 5 turnovers and still won.
They did, and that's the thing, though. They like to make things hard on themselves, and eventually, if they keep doing that, I think someone could possibly knock this team off. But you look going down the stretch for them, though. I mean, Wyoming, San Jose State, Hawaii, UNLV, and Air Force, just 5 teams that they should really win and win kind of comfortably.
I'm going to tell you one thing.
If I had to pick one, though, I slightly into Boise. But Western Michigan, I like to I want to see what they do going forward the rest of the year. Because, look, I like this team. I really do. And to me, where they could win my vote is I want to see how they play against Toledo last game of the season.
Yeah, no, that's the big competition there. Yeah, Western for me right now, but I think Navy's pretty good. I think Boise's pretty good. I think, one team in the Power 5 that I'm telling you.
The Power 5. Okay.
Yes, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, why aren't they in the talk here?
6-0. Yep.
And I think going forward, I mean, why aren't they kind of talked about a little bit?
I think maybe because they haven't had.
Who have the other teams?
I know, but I'm saying they haven't played anyone that's gonna. I'll put it this way: they haven't played or beaten a ranked team.
Right.
So I guess maybe until that happens.
But in the Big 12, I mean, they've beaten every team in front of them. They beat BYU.
But you want to talk about like not playing anyone? They're kind of the definition of that so far.
Listen, they beat Missouri, BYU, Kansas State, TCU. Right, not any groundbreaking wins, but Look, Michigan hasn't had a ground-banging win either, really.
They have better wins than West Virginia.
Okay, they get Oklahoma State next week. I mean, they still play Oklahoma, Texas, and Baylor. If they run the table, I'm not sure how you can't.
Oklahoma and Baylor, right? Those are two
How
teams
can you not put them in if they don't?
Those are two teams they have to win.
If they beat those teams, I mean, that's impressive, man. But they have again, it's game to game.
Yep.
All I'm saying is their offense is really good, and defensively, they held Texas Tech around to 17 points.
Sure, I know.
That is really impressive.
On the road,
On the road, right? Yeah. I'm telling you, man, get a future in West Virginia because if they can, I have Washington at 40.
They got to keep it up though. So
yeah, and I'm just saying, keep a lookout for West Virginia. Other than that, I would agree though. Western Michigan, probably my team in the group of 5.
Yep.
But I like Navy, Ryan.
Okay.
Liked them last year. I like them this year.
All right.
All right, guys. That'll be it. Good show today, Ryan. Thanks for chiming in. Gonna shower up here and get some lunch and
ready for the birds. Yeah.
Get ready for a little Eagle football. What is that little stereo you have behind the TV there?
I got a little trick up my sleeve. There,
okay.
Jeff.
You're gonna go to Merrill Reese.
I think I may have found a way.
There's
Jeff.
no way.
I think I may have found a way.
What's the secret? What's the way?
I'm not telling you.
Why?
Because I want to make sure. I want to make sure it works first.
I'm good with audio visual. I can tell you if it's going to work.
Well,
I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't know that it's possible.
But that's a Bluetooth speaker. That's what that is.
Sure,
and it's charging. I use it for.
But
when I shower and stuff.
There's no feed that will blend the game with the game live.
Well, I'm going to see if it works. So
it's not going to. But
okay, Mr. Negative Jeff Nadu. That's just the way he is. So
well, Ryan, actually, I know what I'm talking about because last year there were 2 games where you weren't here for. That they weren't on TV.
I'm not using the iHeartRadio app, and I'm not using the radio app.
Okay.
So
I'll
just tell you
if you have a way,
I'll just tell you that right now.
If you have a way, I'll gladly agree with and I'll listen to because I can't stand.
And I'm pretty sure it's Joe Buck on the call today, not Joe Buck, Tom Brenneman and Troy Aikman.
Oh no,
and Aaron Andrews. So I don't want to listen to them. I'll watch Aaron Andrews when she reports, but that's all I want to see.
Last question: how many penalties will the Eagles have today? 6.
I think they'll have like 8 or 9.
Can you give me a little love on Syracuse yesterday?
Yeah, look, yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I give you and Sean because Sean came on our show Wednesday and gave out Syracuse. So
and you were on it yourself.
I was
tough game to watch, but
brutal. Talk about penalties. They had upwards of 17, 18 penalties. Syracuse had. It was awful.
9
false starts.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing
it's
with
like
that.
They're playing in a hostile environment. I mean, if you looked at the overhead shot of Boston College Stadium. 2,000 people there, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe?
Yep. And, that offense, though, it's hard to kind of get, kind of on the same page. But C2C Sports Room, Ryan.com, come join us. We got a good couple package of Sean, plus almost 10 units yesterday.
Yeah.
Great job from Sean Harnish. Yep. I think between him and I, we won like 13 units yesterday. So
nice work.
Yeah. Who's BC play this week?
I don't know.
Not Clemson.
I have to.
Louisville.
I got to imagine it's a good team.
Louisville?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think we have Maction this week as well.
Okay.
Weekday Maction.
Yes.
Before we go, let's see what that is.
All right.
Because we know we love Maction, right? We killed Maction last year. I feel like Maction will never start. But let's see what it is quickly. 1 second here.
Quick update, too. Giants did take the lead on the Rams. There's 3 minutes to go. LA has the ball at their own 25. Has to put a drive together here to kind of force OT. So I think it's pretty clear both these teams just aren't anything special.
2 Maction games, Ryan. Thursday, Akron, Buffalo. Buffalo may be the worst team in the country. Ohio and Toledo. Not bad.
Okay.
That's a pretty good one.
Where's that game at, though?
It's in Toledo. It's in the Glass Bowl.
I would like it better if it was in Ohio. Maybe.
You also have a great game Thursday night with Va-Tech Pittsburgh.
I saw.
Great matchup there. And then Cal USC. USC off a bye.
Yep.
Then Navy South Florida on Friday.
I think real quick what Cal has done this year is I think you really have to tip your hat to that head coach and that coaching staff because what they have been able to do offensively with losing Jared Goff and losing all their playmakers on the outside, and they just bring in Davis Webb and the plethora of receivers and running backs that they have, and they seem them to score 40 to 50 points a game.
They lost.
You have to tip your hat.
82% of their production, I believe.
You have to.
And they don't run the ball really at all.
I know.
I agree with you. I did not see...
You have to tip your hat to Cal.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of positivity with that team this year, especially with that porous defense they have. But, I mean, we just keep talking about Oregon. I mean, they have to make a change with Oregon. I mean, you have to.
I think they
God,
will. I think they will. I don't think it really... matters whether they do it now or they do it at the end of the season, but I think it needs to happen.
Yeah. All right, guys. Everyone have a great Sunday. Enjoy the NFL, and we'll be back Wednesday with Week 9 in college football. Doc will join us.
The Merle Reese impersonator.
Yes, he'll join us. Everyone have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.